Today I'm going to talk about neuroplasticity because it's so important to the work that we do. And I'm going to do it in the dynamic way, which is to take these really lofty ideas, spiritual, scientific, psychological, emotional ideas, and I'm going to put it into street talk, into real talk about what neuroplasticity is. And it's such an important concept, okay? And neuroplasticity is a concept that comes from neuroscience and neurosurgery and anything to do with the brain. So now I'm going to start with the definitions. So I'm going to read over here. Neuroplasticity is the ability of the brain to form and reorganize synaptic connections, especially in response to learning or experience or following an injury. Listen to this definition. Neuroplasticity is the capacity of neurons and neural networks in the brain to change their connections and behavior in response to new information, sensory stimulation, development, damage, or dysfunction. Okay, what does that all mean? Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to still grow and change and expand in spite of injury. And I want to share, in spite of trauma, in spite of a traumatic childhood, you can still grow your brain, basically, and your mind. But listen to what's important about that. What's important about that is that it grows, it can change through experience, new information, or new learning. In the dynamic intro, I introduced the idea of neuroplasticity because meditation is one of the experiences that helps with neuroplasticity. Okay, so I'll get to that. I'm reading my notes because this is just so important to me. Okay, so it's our capacity to grow the brain, basically, no matter what has happened to us. Okay, no matter what has happened to us in the past. Okay, so a little pet peeve. When people say, this is just the way I am, well, I can't change because this is just me, okay? Now, when that is said in defiance to growth or learning, or in the middle of a fight, which is when it usually happens with a narcissistic parent or your partner, or sometimes we say it, this is just how I am, you get to say no, because neuroplasticity exists, okay? It's really important. We get to change at any age. All right, let me keep going. What's the importance? The importance is that we change through experience. That is divine. That is such great information. Why? Because the life journey is all about experiencing. We expand and we evolve, we learn, we grow through experiences, okay? And meditation is an experience. Self-reflection is an experience. Traveling to another country is an experience. Meeting people who are different from us is an experience, which means that our brain is growing and changing. The other point is this. Remember in the intro, for those of you who have not taken my dynamic intro, I describe the brain being like Tokyo, like the city Tokyo. And what I mean by that is that it's really well-established neural networks. I want you to picture just a city that's super well-established with highways and neighborhoods and the downtown center, okay? It's already established like our own neural nets, like our own belief systems, okay? And those can become stuck and rigid. Okay, the concept of the more we fire our neurons, the more we wire. So when we have a repetitive belief, a repetitive thought, it can get more and more and more entrenched. So when we have negative thinking, that's what's happening. The more we're wiring that belief, the more we're firing it, the more we're wiring. it can get rigid, okay? It can get like a Tokyo. So what neuroplasticity proposes is that when we have new experiences, our mind opens up. It softens. The neural networks have to expand, okay? We get to open up when we have these new experiences, okay? So that's why psychedelic psychotherapy is blowing up and exploding everywhere, because psychedelic journeys are providing the individual with a mind-blowing experience. Literally, I know that sounds funny, but literally that's what it does, where the individual loses their ego state. And what do we mean by that? The individual loses their rigid personality. And so that after a psychedelic journey, in psychedelic psychotherapy, for example, when the trauma comes up, right after the psychedelic journey, the person's brain is neuroplastic. It's open to new information. It can grow. It can change. Okay? Super important. And that's the moment where in psychedelic psychotherapy, we try and come in and think of new ways of remembering or thinking about the trauma, or it allows for new ways of being in the world that's not so filled with anxiety, depression, or trauma, okay? The same thing happens in meditation or hypnosis. Think of it. Okay, I'm going to teach you about the 3 states of the mind. Okay, the beta state. Beta is when we're out in the world, and it's very fast and high frequency, between 14 to 21 in terms of movement and frequency, okay? And what that means is that we're constantly scanning our environment, we're getting a bunch of information, and so it's hard for us to actually take in, integrate new information, even though we're getting information all the time, okay? Then we move into alpha state. Alpha state is that time right before we fall asleep or right when we wake up, okay? It's a trance-like state where we're soft. And it's the state that we can go into when we're in hypnosis or when we're in a deep meditation. It's a trance-like state. And that's when the mind gets soft and open. That's when new information comes in. Now, how many times have I told you about framing your day? When we are just waking up and when we are just going to sleep, that's an alpha state moment. So what we don't want to be putting in there is the news, is crime movies, is violent episodes, right? Because it goes straight in. The brain in that moment is neuroplastic in the alpha state. Then there's, of course, the theta state, which is much deeper. That is deep hypnotic places, okay? That is very profound, super wide open, the theta state. We can talk about that later, but for the purpose of meditation, for the purpose of hypnosis, for the purpose of the work that you do with me, the alpha state is that soft, open, neuroplastic state where you can receive new information, where you can decide what information you want coming in, and therefore what identity you want to take on. This is what is so amazing, important about neuroplasticity, right? It is the moment when your mind and your brain is welcoming something new. So my question to you is, why not make it something that you want? Who do you want to be in the alpha state? That is the moment to put in an affirmation. That is the moment to listen to a podcast or a meditation or something where you want to take in that information, right? In the framing the day's moments, in the morning, in the evening, in the middle of the day, when you go into a trance, when you meditate, when you sit in your car and you decide, I'm going to sit here for 15 minutes and I'm going to get quiet and I'm going to listen to somebody, to a teacher, where I really want to learn how to be like this person. We get to choose. We get to choose who we want to be, especially when we go into the alpha state of meditation, of course, of psychedelic psychotherapy, but it doesn't even have to be that. It can be 15 minutes a day, okay? So listen to this. I'm almost at the end, but I really want you to have this information because it's gold, right? So if you want to think of levels, 1, 2, 3, right? Let's say at level 6, and you know how dynamic is a compilation of many, many, many teachings. So this is one of the teachings of the Silva Method that is so powerful. Listen to this. So at level 6, you're in your everyday conscious level. Like me, right now I'm at level 6. I'm engaging with you via YouTube. Level 5 is when your eyelids begin to fatigue, right? Let's say you're watching a movie. Okay, you can feel it. And you can feel the trance state coming on. Level 4 is when you close your eyes. And at this point, you're shutting out 85% of the stimulus, of the outside stimulus that's coming at you. And when you close your eyes at number 4, you're getting ready to relax. So that's why we do that in meditation, right? We're starting to enter a slightly hypnotic state. Level 3, when you start relaxing, it's physical relaxation, right? You're in your car, you're on your couch, you're starting to meditate, you're in your yoga class, and at level 3, your eyes are closed and your body starts to relax. Level 2 is when your mind starts to relax. You start feeling, and maybe you start to feel like you're going to sleep, and you're entering the alpha state. Level 1 is when you're in the alpha state. And what I connected there is that that's when high neuroplasticity is happening. Because in the alpha state, you can basically deposit any belief that you want, any affirmation that you want. If you're deciding, for example, that you want to have an abundant life, you can say that in that moment. Or you can be listening to a podcast or to a teacher. As you're at level 1 alpha state, your brain is neuroplastic. It is in receiving mode. We talk a lot about the receiving mode. Well, the alpha state is the receiving mode. When you're doing a meditation, don't just do it because it calms your body. Absolutely, do it because you have the intention of using what your body, is so beautiful, your body organically has, which is the ability to grow, to change. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter the trauma you had in your childhood. That's why this is so hopeful. For example, I'm going to speak to you who might have an illness right now, who might be suffering from something right now. What I will propose is do this 3 times a day. Do 15 minutes of a meditation with soft music where you purposely, let's say you do in the morning, at noon, and at night, you purposely put yourself into the alpha state. Close your eyes and feed yourself, whether it's through someone else's voice like mine during my meditations, through a podcast, through a teacher. So what did we do today? We talked about neuroplasticity, which is straight up neuroscience. See, right now you're going to be able to go out there and talk about neuroscience and having your brain be neuroplastic. You can win arguments, and when people say, well, I can't change, well, I'm too old to change, you can say, no, you can change because neuroplasticity exists. Now you know about the beta, alpha, and theta states, and you know that in alpha you can drop anything. And by the way, for those of you who are parents, when you're reading to your children and they're getting sleepy, read beautiful things. Tell them beautiful things. Remember how I focus on framing the day. What you say to your child when they wake up, and what you say to your child when you go to sleep, and to your lover, and to anyone, is so important in those moments because of neuroplasticity. And today also what we learned was sort of the levels, right? 6 being beta, 5 being that you're just starting to, your eyelids start to drop, 4, 3, 2, and 1 being the alpha state. Okay? Oh, I was so fired up to share this information with you. Just so fired up. And I know you're going to remember it. I know you're going to remember it. And you're going to make connections. And you're going to remember that this is why you're doing it. So set the intention. Set the intention.